your For You page is anything like mine, you might have been getting these viral videos about this super cheap smart ring. It's like $20 to $40 and apparently it can do these big claims like temperature, fertility, steps, workouts, all the things of the big name smart ring brands, but for $20 to $40. Now, as a kind of wellness girly, I'm intrigued by this. I have had an Apple Watch for many years and I like all of the things of the Apple Watch. I like being able to keep track of my steps and all these things. But I'm a little bit sick of looking like a spy kid sometimes. Sometimes it's really killing the vibe of the outfit. I've been looking at smart rings because like they look a little bit sleeker, they look a little bit nicer, and I was curious, would I miss some of the features of my smartwatch? Is the ring even really accurate? Things like that. I figured maybe buying this super cheap smart ring would be a good introduction to see if I like a smart ring. If I ended up buying the Colmi smart ring, I decided I was going to put it to the test and see not only if I like a smart ring, but is this smart ring all it's cracked up to be? Is it like a good alternative if you don't want to throw down the money for Ultrahuman or Oura or whatever? I have tested it out for well over a month now, and I have some interesting things to share about it. If you too have been interested in the Colmi smart ring, I'm going to be breaking down all the different features of it. I compare it specifically to my Apple Watch and just in general, I do some different tests on it. So let's get started. Let's go over overall impressions of the ring. There are a bunch of different versions of the Colmi smart ring. I specifically have the Colmi R09. Couple on TikTok shop, I think it's the R06. Now that one does not do temperature tracking. People on TikTok will say, oh, it tracks your fertility. It does not. If you're looking at a Colmi smart ring specifically that has the temperature feature, you're gonna want the R09 or the R10. The R10 looks kind of sparkly and I didn't really like the look of that one, so that was the reason why I did not go with that one. But the only difference between the 9 and the 10 from what I understand is that the 10 is sparkly and the 9 is not. Now, if you're gonna go with the R9, they do not have it on TikTok shop. They do not have it on Amazon. You can only get it through AliExpress. R10 is available on TikTok shop if you were wanting to buy it through there. Buying through AliExpress was fine for me. The shipping took maybe like 3 weeks. The first one I ordered, I did have to return, and I had no issues with the return process if you're worried about that. The time I ordered, I felt like I was measuring my finger a million times, followed the sizing guide, and I thought I was a size 9. And because I was really worried I didn't want it to be too tight. So I was not really like sizing it really tight. I was trying to be, you know, mindful of that. But I guess I was too mindful maybe because when it came, it was huge on me. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I definitely need to order the smallest size, which is a size 8. And even the size 8 was big on me. See, I've added these little sizers in it so that I can make it fit, because without the sizers, it's kind of just like jostling on my finger. You do need to make sure you have a good sizing on your ring or else it's not going to be accurate. And that probably is the case for a smartwatch or any other smart ring. For comparison, I did order the Ultrahuman sizing kit just to kind of see how it compared, because it's only like $1. Just curious, like if you're looking to get the Colmi smart ring, like is this maybe an easier way to size? In my personal opinion, I would say that a size 7 in the Ultrahuman is equal to the size 8 in the Colmi smart ring. You can see that they are pretty much exactly the same. So I really wish the Colmi offered a size 7 because I think it would reduce the profile of it on my finger. But it's not a big deal. Sizing bands I bought on Amazon are like fine. The sizing chart on AliExpress/Colmi, it's in centimeters or inches. I recommend measuring your finger in centimeters specifically, just because that's a smaller, you know, size of measurement and it'll be a little bit more accurate. Again, AliExpress has free returns, so it's not a big deal if you have to return it. It's just that it takes a while to get your shipping. It's not 2-day Amazon. Overall, I do like the look of this ring. I think it looks nice. This is the Bionic Gold from Ultrahuman, and I would say that the Colmi Gold is a little bit lighter. I have been wearing this ring for over a month now, lifting weights, doing all the workouts, and it does have a little bit of scratching. I don't know if you can see it. It's not that bad. There are things you can buy for smart rings to kind of protect it if you are lifting weights and you don't want to have that metal on metal scratching. I don't think it's really that noticeable, but I imagine if I was maybe wearing this for a year, maybe this would look a lot more scratched up. But I have heard that the scratching is pretty par for the course for a lot of smart rings. This is what the R09 box looks like, and they give you 2 little charging options. So the first one I have never even used, but it is this little USB. You can see in the ring, but it goes to this little charging port right here. and it magnetically attaches. Specifically like using this little charging case, it uses a USB-C and you can charge it up into the wall, and then it does a few charges with the ring, and you just pop it in and then you can see the red light is glowing and it is charging in the case. I have my ring on all day, all night while I sleep. I do a workout or two a day. I have it set so that it's doing blood oxygen every 30 minutes, heart rate every 15 to 30 minutes. Like, I have it on all of the different things, and the charge lasts me about 2 to 3 days, which I can say is much better than my Apple Watch. I can't even make it through the end of the day, it feels like, these days with my Apple Watch. So as far as that's concerned, I'm really impressed with the charge of the Colmi Smart Ring. Let's talk about step counts. I feel like that's one of the primary things people use a ring or a watch for, to see if they can hit 8,000, 10,000, whatever it is, steps a day, just to kind of increase their general activity. I tested the accuracy of the steps in a few different ways. And so you're gonna see throughout this video in general, I have a few different outfit changes because I'm doing different experiments on the ring and talking about it at different times. But if I am just pulling random days of data, comparing what my watch says versus my ring says, the ring generally is higher. I'll just pull a random one. October 7th, it said I had 10,920 steps on the ring, and my watch said I had 7,000 steps for the day. So that's a pretty big discrepancy. That's over 3,000 steps higher that the ring is giving me credit for. And then if I pull another random day, the ring gave me 9,691 steps, and my watch gave me 6,486 steps. So again, that's almost a 3,000 step discrepancy. But one thing I have noticed is the days where I log a walking workout, whether that's walking on a treadmill or walking outside, and I specifically log a workout, for whatever reason, those days the steps are closer. So for example, on September 24th, my step count was 9,595 steps on the ring, and my watch was 8,983. Around 600 step discrepancy. That feels okay, but a 3,000 step difference, that feels a little bit like, okay, who's right and who's wrong here? Pull one more where I did a walking workout. On September 6th, I had 11,413 steps according to the ring, and the watch told me I had 10,774 steps. So again, that's like 700 step discrepancy. The thing I did test was walking with a stroller and seeing if the watch or the ring picked up on those steps. I walked pushing the stroller and I counted exactly 100 steps, and the ring registered none of them. However, the watch registered like 20 of them. Not like the watch was super accurate either, but the ring literally picked up nothing. This is a common thing I've heard with people who have an Apple Watch or Oura ring. I didn't go out of my way to buy like an old school hip pedometer. Maybe I should, just to see if it's accurate or not. But you'll see I do a couple more experiments to test the accuracy of the ring versus the watch. And you can kind of make your own judgments. Whether the ring is over-reporting me or the watch is under-reporting my steps, I have no idea. Just know that the ring tends to run higher than my Apple Watch. The first few days I had this ring, I had it on my right hand, and I was finding this huge discrepancy in steps between my ring and my watch. And then I read the FAQs and it said you need to wear it on your non-dominant hand and ideally your index finger. So I tried to put it on my index finger and it was too big. So I got these little sizers. Maybe you can see that the sensors are down here. So it's not blocking the sensors at all. But the first day I had it on my right hand, and I was just like making dinner, and I had literally been wearing it for 30 minutes, and it said I had reached like 2,000 steps, and I was like, this is not right. So I do think that it's like slightly improved. I was trying to figure out, like, is there something in the technology that helps it so that it distinguishes walking versus like texting on your phone or typing on your computer or whatever. It says, why did I start walking but the ring didn't start counting steps? In order to reduce the step counting error of the ring caused by frequent hand activities such as typing on the keyboard or playing poker, the ring is set with an initial value of 10, and only when the number of steps reaches 10 in a row will the step counting officially begin. At the same time, the real-time step count in the Q-Ring main interface will change. We're gonna put that to the test. It is 2:05 right now, and I'm going to be planted here for the next 45 minutes to an hour, and we're going to see if the step changes for the watch or for the ring, with me not walking at all, just me typing on my computer, getting some editing done, whatever. It's 8 o'clock at night now, but I took screenshots right before I had to get up. For the Apple Watch, we started at 3,787 steps. And after about 45 minutes, we were at 3,854 steps. And again, that was me just sitting here at my desk. So that's 67 steps that it measured on my Apple Watch. Now for the ring, we started at 4,804, and then we ended on 4,879. So that is 75 steps. So those are actually pretty close. I mean, obviously the idea would be like that we had 0 because again, I was just sitting here, I wasn't actually walking, but those are actually pretty comparable, and that's actually a lot better for the ring than I thought it was going to do. So we'll have to do some more experiments because maybe my Apple Watch is off. Maybe this ring is right. Messy kitchen. We are going to do a little test this afternoon. I'm going to count 100 steps around my kitchen island, and we are going to see if the ring gets it right. So right now, I just updated it. My ring is at 5,152 steps. My watch is saying that I'm at 3,566 steps. So we're already a discrepancy today. So I'm going to count starting now. 1, 2, 100. My watch is showing 3,661 steps, and my ring is showing 5,248 steps. So do with that what you will. So let's talk about the blood oxygen level. Now, I do not have a pulse oximeter at home. It's the Apple Watch Series 6, and it has the pulse oximetry. So I've always assumed that was relatively accurate, but to be quite honest, whenever I have tried to run my watch and the ring at the same time to see like, oh, how are they comparing and stuff like that, I'm having so many issues with my watch all of a sudden. But it happened several times where every time I tried to run the pulse oximetry, it would say that there was an error. Oh, it's not tight enough on your wrist, like whatever. Like I could not get it to get a read. But the ring is relatively consistent. It tells me that my blood oxygen is 99, 98, 100, which I believe. I don't have any breathing condition, but there have been a couple times now where I've gotten the pulse oximetry on my watch to work, and it tells me that my blood oxygen is like 92 or 91, and the ring is telling me it's 99. The fact that it was reading at 92 or 91, you would feel that. Like you would feel something is a little off. You'd feel out of breath. I feel fine. Like I'm totally normal. And so I don't really believe that. But then I will run the watch again 2 minutes later and it actually does work and it tells me it's 99. I actually think that my Apple Watch, the pulse oximetry, is a little inconsistent. That being said, I'm not going to go buy a pulse oximetry just to test the blood oxygen function of this ring, but the ring is consistent and it tells me my blood oxygen, and it's telling me in a range that I do believe. It's not telling me that my blood oxygen is 80 or something like that, because that is something that would be a red flag and you would feel. Have the blood oxygen run at different intervals that you set with the ring. You can also do a real-time measurement. So I'll just show you. You just say click to start measurement. So saying 97, 98, switching between those two. I do believe that this probably is accurate for blood oxygen. Now let's talk about the aspect that I was really most interested in with this ring, and that was temperature. It does say that the measurement is affected by the surrounding environment, which like duh. The accuracy of the measurement may decrease. You need to make sure you wear it for more than 10 minutes at room temperature, and you have to keep quiet during the measurements. Like there's a lot of things involved of like how accurate it's going to be. I have it on a setting where it takes it every 30 minutes for me. Obviously I know it's not going to be, you know, the exact same as a core temperature, but let's just try it anyway. I'm gonna take my oral temperature. Okay, so my oral temperature was 98.4 and the ring is reading it at 97.9. So I mean, it's off by about 0.5. Obviously, like I think like a big downside to measuring it this way is that it's not your core temperature. If you're outside all day in a warm climate or a really cold climate, they are saying that the accuracy is probably not going to be there. I'm a little bit skeptical of these smart rings that do temperature and they can maybe detect if you're getting sick or something like that. I just don't know how accurate that. Maybe there is something to it. I don't know. But as a nurse, when I'm taking a patient's temperature, I want to get as close to the core as possible. That's why you take an oral temperature or a rectal temperature or something like that, because it's going to give you the most accurate body temperature. And when you're taking a temperature from your finger, that's pretty far from your core, and not going to be an accurate core temperature. However, I guess it makes sense to me that if you are using it for basal body temperature, or maybe just temperature tracking in general, if you are consistently measuring it every day, several times a day, that you can look at the trends, and if it's suddenly trending up, then maybe you can detect that something is off. Let's talk about the menstrual tracking with the Colmi Smart Ring. This was the part I was most interested about because people were saying, oh, it tracks your basal body temperature. And I was like, oh, sweet. When I got the ring, I started my menstrual cycle a few days later, and I noticed I wasn't able to like enter my menstrual cycle or anything. And I was like, how is this going to work? And then I was noticing on the menstrual section of the app that the body temperature section, it changes throughout the day. When I first got the ring in the app, I was giving it a little bit too much credit, and I was assuming, oh, it's like figuring out when I woke up for the day and it's going to use that temperature for this body temperature section. It's like, that's kind of weird. It should be just one time, you know, like right when you wake up. Emailing Colmi and asking about it, and they did say, I'm very sorry to inform you that there is no way to correct the menstruation prediction in the app. The prediction algorithm has its own logic and limitations, and we currently do not offer a manual correction function for this. Regarding your question about using the temperature data for the ring for menstruation and ovulation prediction, I must say there is no direct relationship between the body temperature measured by the ring and the menstrual cycle. Therefore, it cannot be used for such predictions. So truthfully, I'm not even sure what the point of the body temperature section on that menstruation section of the app is for. So if you are like me and don't have a cycle that is like clockwork every 28 days or every 30 days, whatever it is, if your period is off by a few days, there's no way to go in and correct it. Like a pretty dumb part of the app in my opinion, and makes it pretty much pointless for me personally because I'm not consistent to the day with my cycle. I still was interested in tracking the temperature from the ring. What I will say is truthfully, I am not probably the best test subject because I do have a newborn foster daughter. She wakes up once in the middle of the night, and when you're tracking basal body temperature, you are supposed to be tracking it at the same time, and you are supposed to be, you know, asleep for I think like 4 hours before you take it. So what I ended up doing was taking the sleep data from the Colmi ring and backtracking and seeing what time I woke up every day. And I used that time from the sleep data to pull a temperature right before I woke up, and then I graphed that data to see if it gave me a basal body temperature chart. So as you can see, for the sake of this experiment, I charted it 2 different ways. I charted it at the same time every day at 4:30, whatever the Colmi Smart Ring told me my temperature was at that time. And then I also did like what time I woke up, but because my sleep is kind of erratic because I'm waking up in the middle of the night and stuff like that, it wasn't at the same time every day. So I just wanted to see if one of them kind of gave me an accurate basal body temperature. Really, either way, it's not the most accurate tracking. And if you look at the chart, it does show a rise when I started ovulating. However, it doesn't really look like how a basal body temperature chart should look. For example, this is what my basal body temperature chart looked like when I was tracking it when I was trying to get pregnant with my son. This was the month I got pregnant with my son. And you can see it has this high rise when I ovulated, and then it stays high throughout the rest of my cycle. On the charts that I did, you can see it rise about when I should have ovulated, but it doesn't stay risen. But also, again, like my measuring wasn't consistent, my sleep isn't really consistent. So TBD on if the tracking of the temperature on the ring for menstruation purposes is accurate. Obviously, I wish that it had the integration in the app so that it took the work out of it for you. If you got this ring and you wanted to track it, what you could do was use the temperature tracking and then enter it manually into something like the Flow app and track your basal body temperature that way. And if you found that it was accurate, then that way you wouldn't have to take an oral temperature every day. But I don't know how accurate it is or not. Let's talk about sleep a little bit. This is one of the features of the Smart Ring that I was really, really interested in because my Apple Watch does not have a good charge on it. In order for me to wear it throughout the night, I would have to fully charge it. Then half the time I forget to put it back on to go to sleep. So the appeal of the Smart Ring is that it has such a longer charge that I just wear it all day and then wear it all night, and then I only have to charge it, you know, like when I'm taking a shower. It has what they consider REM, what they consider light sleep, and then deep sleep, and then they have this orange section called wake up. And I will have that occasionally, but when you are awake for more than, say, 10 minutes, it just leaves it as a completely blank space. Because I'm up with my foster daughter for anywhere from 30 minutes to sometimes up to an hour, it doesn't register it as a wake up. I have done the calculations and it doesn't factor it in as like unregistered sleep. It just completely removes it from my sleep duration. But it doesn't seem to factor those long wake ups into my sleep quality because, for example, this day that I'm showing you, I was up for an hour and it did show this hour of blank space that I was up with my foster daughter. However, it said that I have excellent sleep quality and I can assure you, I did not feel excellent that morning. If you are someone who wakes up a lot in the night and maybe for extended periods, maybe you just have a hard time going back to sleep and stuff like that, I'm not sure how accurate this will be for you. I have some data of wearing my watch and the ring at the same time during the same nights. They both are just off by a few minutes. They both show roughly the same amount of awake time during that night, which happened to be a night where my foster daughter slept through the night, or maybe my husband did all the wake ups. I don't even remember. The awake time is pretty close to each other and the REM duration is pretty close to each other. I think it kind of depends on what kind of sleeper you are, if this ring will be accurate for tracking your sleep and giving you kind of numbers and stuff like that. It is still interesting to look at, and hopefully one day when everyone is sleeping through the night, I can use this and get a better insight into my sleep. One of the sections on the Q Ring app, which is the app for the Colmi ring, is this stress section. Now, I personally don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, and I have genuinely no idea how they calculate it. I don't know if they're looking at just heart rate or if they're looking at HRV or something like that, but you can set it up so that it measures your stress level at certain intervals throughout the day. So like for today, it's saying that my average is a 40 and my minimum today is a 31, my maximum is 47, and what is considered relaxed is 0 to 29, normal is 30 to 59, medium is 60 to 79, and high is 80 to 100. So these aren't like actual like scientific numbers, it's like whatever Colmi's algorithm is, but you can do a real-time stress. So I thought it'd be fun if I used the mindfulness app on my watch and did a minute of measured breathing and then did the real-time stress on the Colmi app and see what it gave me. Let's start. I mean, after a minute of this mindfulness breathing, it said that it was 49, which is just right in the middle normal. If I look throughout my data throughout the day, I am very rarely relaxed. So maybe that's some inner work I need to do. Most of the time, my stress level is just normal, and then I have these periods of medium. Just glancing through, it doesn't look like I've ever had a high stress level according to the Colmi app. There was one day at 3 p.m. where I was trying to get out the door, trying to get to an appointment, getting so stressed and frustrated because, you know, dealing with a toddler. And it did tell me that my stress level was at a 65, which is a medium. Very curious what the Colmi ring considers high. I hope to never experience it though. Another section on the Colmi app is this HRV, which is heart rate variability. This is something I truthfully don't pay a whole lot of attention to, but the watch and the ring both do it, so I just wanted to touch on it. Heart rate variability refers to the time used to measure the interval between heartbeats. Heart rate variability contains information on the regulation of the cardiovascular system. It can be used to determine the status and prevention of cardiovascular and other diseases. When you're under some kind of stress, your heart rate usually increases and your heart rate variability decreases, with lower heart rate variability corresponding to higher stress. Ideally, you want to have a normal to high heart rate variability. Low HRV indicates high stress or poor autonomic nervous system function, or sometimes it can just indicate some like poor health. I'm just going to pick a couple days ago. The watch told me that at 7 a.m. my HRV was 41 and the ring is telling me it was 45. So not that huge of a difference. Pretty much the ring always tells me that mine is normal. What I will say I don't really care for about the Apple Watch is it doesn't really give me a range of what is normal, whereas I appreciate that in the ring it kind of gives me what is considered normal, good, excellent, even though I think that is maybe a little bit subjective. If we pick another random day, let's say October 3rd, my watch told me that my average HRV for the day was 41, and my ring is telling me for that day my average was 42. So again, like very close. I found that the ring is pretty accurate with heart rate, so it shouldn't be too surprising that the HRV is relatively accurate as well. Let's talk about the heart rate function of the ring. Whenever I look at it during a workout, they're always running at about the same number. I've said this before and I'll say it again, having a good fit on your ring is very imperative. I remember one day before I got the Space, I was on the Stairmaster and I was going really hard. And the watch was telling me my heart rate was like 160, 170, and the ring was like 90. And I'm like panting, like, okay, this is not right. Then obviously once I got the spacers, I recognized that the heart rate was much more accurate, because you do need to have a good snug fit so that the sensors can measure your heart rate accurately. You can do a real-time heart rate measurement. I'm gonna do it for my watch and then my ring as well. Okay, so the ring is telling me it's 79, my watch is telling me it's 76. I mean, close enough. Plus there's gonna be some variability beat to beat. Now let's talk about tracking workouts in general with the ring. So basically within the app, all you do is you scroll down and you press go, and then you have all these different options of workouts you can select, and you can search for things like strength training or running or Pilates or whatever it is that you're doing. And after the workout, it will give you things like your average heart rate. If you're doing a run or a walk, it'll give you the distance that you did. And it'll also give you like the calories that you burned. I really don't know the accuracy of the calorie count for the watch. For example, if I'm comparing this workout I did the other day of just lifting weights, I lifted weights for about 30 minutes. It's telling me that my average heart rate in the ring was 92. The watch is telling me that my average heart rate was 96. Active calories by the watch is saying 110, and the ring tells me that it was 107. So that's pretty close. But if I look at another workout, I did 30 minutes on the stair climber. According to the watch, I had an average heart rate of 156, and the ring tells me that my heart rate was 150, so that's pretty close. The watch tells me that my active calories were 212, and the ring tells me that my calories were 357. That's a pretty big discrepancy. Truthfully, I don't pay all that much attention to how many calories the watch or the ring is telling me, because I don't really adjust my calories for the day based on that. I'm more of an intuitive eater. But if you are someone who takes a lot of care in how many calories specifically you're burning, I have no idea which one is more accurate. In conclusion, do I recommend this ring? I don't know. Honestly, I think it depends on what you're looking for. If you have never used a watch or a ring or anything like that before, I think this is a great introduction. It's cheap, and you can see if you like getting all that data without spending a monthly fee like Oura or putting down a couple $100 like any of the smart rings. If you are taking it as gospel for your step count, I don't know. I really don't know. I think it really just depends on the person, to be honest. I do really like the sleep tracking features of this ring. In general, I like the long charge of it. I like the look of it. I think it looks nice. I do think there's a lot of room for improvement with the Colmi ring and the app, but for the price, I really don't think it's that bad. Then I have the Colmi R09. If you type it into AliExpress, there will be several different sellers. I bought it specifically from the Colmi official store. I will have the link in the description. Since I'm trying to make an effort to be healthier, get more steps, be more active, all those things, I like having a wearable. I find it kind of motivating of like, oh, yesterday I was not very active. I need to be a little bit more active today. It kind of just gives me a better gauge on how active I'm being. Kind of on this glow up journey, I'm trying to be a little bit more active, and I find that having a wearable helps keep me a little bit more accountable of staying active and getting enough steps in and things like that. So I hope this was helpful for you guys if you were interested in this ring or just some of the features. If you guys have any questions about the ring, I will try to answer them in the comments. If you guys watched all the way through this, thank you so much. If you'll want to stick around for the other random things that I like to talk about on here, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!